Oh, how low the mighty have fallen. I mean, get it? Because it's Mighty number 9, and it was fallen over 3 years, and it's come out, and it's a piece of shit. Okay, so I'll be up front. I am not that big of a Mega Man fan. Oh yeah, the game that Mighty number 9 is leeching off of is neither a property I have any particular love for, nor noteworthy skill. But you want to know what Mega Man is that Mighty number 9 isn't? Fun. And while I don't have nostalgic twangs of joy in my heart for the Blue Bomber, the original games for the Game Boy were much better and much more enjoyable. Tough, but enjoyable. For all of its frustrating flaws, the main emotion I felt while playing Mighty number 9 was a heightened sense of sadness. I mean, even as someone who isn't a big fan of Mega Man, I felt genuinely sad for the millions of people who had hoped for 3 long, embarrassing years that Mighty number 9 would be the Mega Man successor they had dreamed of. I remember when the Kickstarter for this was first launched, and how happy everyone was that this was happening. Even I, who is admittedly not a big Mega Man fan, was excited for this game. To me, it seemed like this giant middle finger to Capcom for ignoring Mega Man for so long, and this Kickstarter was the retribution. And it was led by Keiji Inafune, a team of Mega Man veterans. Hell, what could go wrong? Everything seemed to be right on track, and destined to become a new classic. Well, a lot went wrong. This video isn't about that, but mismanagement, lack of communication, a lackluster, disappointing art style change, a terrible launch, an even worse trailer, and some really shady practices from Inafune and Concept have ground the goodwill most backers had towards this title into dust. If anything, it's a fascinating case study in how not to run and manage a Kickstarter. But I'm not here to talk about that, like I said. I'm not here to talk about its development cycle or controversy. More intelligent people than myself have already analyzed it to death. I'm here to talk about the game, because in the end, that's what matters the most. The game, the end product, the gold for all of this. And to keep it simple, Mighty number 9 is a really bad and thoroughly unenjoyable experience. Keiji Inafune might as well retire from the gaming industry after this. After all the easily avoidable controversy and disastrous end result, his name is associated with mistrust and disappointment. My first impressions of Mighty number 9 were not so hot. I was almost instantly turned off by its shockingly poor graphics. The most popular criticism of its graphics is that it looks like a bargain bin PS2 game. And it looks like a bargain bin PS2 game. The lip syncing is non-existent. The characters' frozen, creepy, lifeless faces would fit right in a horror movie. And do I even need to describe what those explosions look like? No, I don't. Because they look like ass. And as far as the audio goes, the writing is insipid, the music is uninspired, and the voice acting is some of the worst I've heard in ages. Switching the audio to Japanese was the only way I wouldn't gouge my eardrums out. Even worse, what minute interest this game managed to stir up in my brain was quickly squashed by much more interesting distractions around my household. On my first day of playing, I think I spent more time listening to its repetitive, bland pause menu music while I browsed through Steam's summer deals and unboxed my recent purchase of the Doom art book, which is really cool, by the way. That was how little I gave a shit about this game. Hell, even with decent gameplay and potentially fun combat system, Mighty number 9 got nothing out of me. I felt so empty watching a poorly designed, creepy robot kid pixel blast his way through the same tired enemies and die due to the same insta-death purple lightning traps over and over again. Oh, and whoever designed those purple lightning traps and decided that they need to be in every fucking level, yeah, they deserve to burn in hell. Because fuck them. Oh, but wait! There's more! And it only got worse. It was when I reached one of the bosses, the fire guy, that I saw the true, ugly face of Mighty number 9's baffling backwards design. Due to the atrocious graphics and sense of movement and speed, it's tough to get a read on these fuckers, and the area of attack and damage proves to be wildly inconsistent. Combine that with a floaty, slow, heavy weight to your character, cheap spam attacks, boring boss designs, and those damn instant death kamikaze moves that made me scream, how the fuck did anyone think this was a good idea? It felt like I was beating my head against a brick wall. Every time I saw my character get blasted into a million pixels, I could pretty much hear the game laughing at me and smugly whispering in my ear with preening pretension, "Get good, son." Because Mighty No. 9 is a hard game, but not in a way that's fun or rewarding. Its idea of challenge is shallow, old-fashioned, and lazy. Its idea of challenge is instead of great level design, challenging enemy encounters, and fun bosses, is spamming the same enemies at you over and over again in tight corridors surrounded by instant death purple lightning, all with limited lives. Who the fuck came up with the limited lives, by the way? All leading up to a boss battle where you can't get a good read on him or her, and when you die, you have to start all over again. I mean, that was the way it was in Mega Man. I know. I can hear you guys already saying, Razor Blade Mango, it was like that in Mega Man. Well, Mega Man was shorter. Mega Man felt better. Mega Man had bosses that weren't complete boring assholes. I mean, hell, instead of encouraging you with helpful tips, co-op options, or anything fun at all, Mighty No. 9 grabs you by the neck and forces you to repeat the same shitty levels and bosses over and over and over and over again until you feel like Alex from A Clockwork Orange screaming, "Oh, I've had enough! I'm much better now! I'm much better now!" You know what other game is hard? Dark Souls 3. And like Mighty No. 9, I'm not particularly good at Dark Souls 3 either, but it's a damn good game. See, the difference between Mighty No. 9 and Dark Souls 3 is that Dark Souls 3 is a very forgiving experience. This is something Concept does not understand about difficulty design. While Bandai Namco loves to hype up the "prepare to die" over and over again for Dark Souls in general, Dark Souls 3 is actually a very forgiving experience. Dark Souls 3 gives you options to get better. It allows you to change your playstyle, summon allies, level up to get stronger, get items that would improve yourself, and more. And Dark Souls 3 earns its challenge, even when you're banging your head against a wall against an enemy that seems undefeatable. You know you can beat it. The game is not impossible. And you'll want to keep going with its beautiful art design, freakish enemies, and gorgeous bosses. And when you finally summon the stamina and skill to outwit and outfight some nightmarish nightmare, you earned that victory. Dark Souls 3 earns its challenge, and it feels wonderful. There is nothing like that in Mighty No. 9. Your one and only hope is to see if the never explained or mentioned healing system in the pause menu will help you. Oh, by the way, there's a healing system in the game in the pause menu that the game does not bother explaining at all, and I accidentally found out when I tried rummaging through the options in order to find something that will actually help me against the fucking boss. But in Mighty No. 9, my first thought after somewhat getting close to a boss's death was, "Oh, thank Christ, I never have to do this again." And then he did a cheap kamikaze attack and I exploded. So that hope was instantly dashed. But who in their right mind would want to play these bosses again? Hell, who in their right mind would want to continue with Mighty No. 9 after that? Not me. For me personally, I don't have the patience or willpower to continue with Mighty No. 9. I'm sorry if you're one of those people that thinks in order to have a valid criticism, you must see the end credits of the game, which I would not want to because the end credits are fucking 4 hours long. But that's not me. I did not even get 1/3 of the way through Mighty No. 9. I give up. Mighty No. 9 has beaten me. It's a boring, hollow, infuriating experience that is only made worse by the fact that it's a high-profile, a highly successful Kickstarter project and a savior of a long dormant franchise, I think a lot of people would have been more forgiving of its tumultuous development cycle if the end results were anything near as great as Inafune were making them out to be. Even as someone who gave as little of a shit as possible about the game when it launched, I'm still sincerely and thoroughly disappointed in KJ Inafune and his team. This is a lazy, badly designed effort from someone who should know better by now. Like I said, he might as well retire at this point. Because, no one's going to trust him again. When he puts on his sad puppy dog eyes and tells everyone that he deserves all the insults in an effort to garner a sympathy card, I don't buy the act for one solitary second. If he truly was as mournful and ashamed as he says about the franchise that he helped create and begged us for the millions of dollars to put in our hands, then he should have gotten it right the first time. And this really does back up what Hidetaki Kamiya said a long time ago when we gave him so much shit, that KJ Inafune is a businessman, not a creator. And he was right. And if Mighty No. 9 is going to be the game that kicks off the multimedia franchise of Inafune's dreams, well, that really won't be better than nothing. Oh, and by the way, the Stanley Parable and Undertale combined on Steam cost me less than half of Mighty No. 9's digital release price. So, yeah, get those instead. They're a lot better. I'll see you next time, guys. You go to the menu and there's this fat ass that's like, oh, you need to stop being lazy. You need to stop being lazy and fucking fight the Mighty No. 9, man. And it's like, well, fuck you. Why don't you fucking not make a lazy ass piece of shit game? Why don't you get on the treadmill and fucking work out some more, and fucking then when you're skinny, come back and make a good fucking game that doesn't have fucking purple lightning in it and isn't a cheap giant piece of shit. This guy's smiling at me like it's a fucking good game. He's like fucking smiling at me. He's like, oh, he's like, he has his fucking fat ass finger out that's like the size of a fucking sausage. He's like pointing at the screen. He's like, oh, you need to play the game. You need to play the game, man. You need to play the Mighty No. 9s. You need to complete Mighty No. 1. You need to fight Mighty No. 2, Mighty No. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You need to fight all these Mighty No. 9s. And you gotta deal with the fucking purple lightning. This guy's a fucking asshole. I fucking hate this game. He's like, oh, you because if I go back, I go to the screen, and he's like, go ahead and choose your next target. How about I just target that doesn't suck fucking ass?